I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Technology Report. Tens of thousands of people travel to Austin, Texas each year to attend the South by Southwest Festival. The festival is most famous for its music and film presentations. In recent years, it has also become one of the biggest new media events of the year. Last year, more than 14,000 people from 54 countries attended the event. It is the place to learn about promising new technologies. Margie Newman describes the event as a sea of Mac-toting, smartphone-obsessed new media snobs on a mission to know what is next. Ms. Newman is a public relations professional in Washington, D.C. She made her third trip to the South by Southwest Festival this year. She said, "A lot of people call South by Southwest Interactive the geek spring break, and that's pretty accurate." South by Southwest Interactive has seen the successful launch of several products. It helped push Twitter into mainstream popularity in 2007. In 2009, a company called Foursquare launched its mobile networking service at the festival. The service lets friends tell other friends where they are by checking in using a mobile application or a text message. Foursquare's owners say they now have more than 6.5 million users around the world. Margie Newman says quick response codes were big news at this year's festival. The codes turn URLs and text into barcode-like images that can be scanned using a mobile phone or a QR code reader. She said it looks like a scanning device used in supermarkets, but it's a square. She said people aren't using QR codes for marketing just yet. But it was very popular at South by Southwest Interactive. Cloud computing and group messaging were also popular. The 5-day festival ended March 15th. Hundreds of events were planned each day. They included speeches by some of the world's leading technology industry experts, hands-on training workshops, and many group discussions. Margie Newman said, "South by Southwest Interactive is the place to be if you are into digital new media. You don't want to miss it." For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Transcripts, MP3s, and podcasts of our reports are at voaspecialenglish.com. We're also on Facebook at VOA Learning English.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. An American space company says a powerful new rocket should be ready for a test launch by the end of next year. The company is Space Exploration Technologies, or SpaceX. Its new rocket is called the Falcon Heavy. Company officials say it will be able to transport satellites or spacecraft weighing up to 53 metric tons into orbit. That load weight is double the capacity of NASA space shuttles. The space agency is retiring its shuttles after 30 years. Elon Musk is the chief executive officer of SpaceX. He says 53 metric tons is more than the weight of a fully loaded Boeing 737 with 136 passengers, luggage, and fuel. It's more payload capability than any space vehicle in history, he says, apart from the Saturn V. NASA used Saturn V rockets during its Apollo and Skylab programs in the 1960s and 70s. A Saturn V launched the Apollo 11 mission that landed the first humans on the moon in 1969. The rockets were removed from service in 1973, but they remain the most powerful ever built. Elon Musk says the Falcon Heavy will be the second most powerful rocket ever. He says it was designed to do more than carry satellites and other equipment into space. He says the rocket was designed to meet NASA's ratings for human flight safety. So it could someday be used to carry astronauts and other travelers into space. Mr. Musk says the Falcon Heavy could also be used for missions like carrying a robotic lander to collect samples from Mars. He says a mission like that requires a great amount of lift capability. The lander has to reach Mars and still have enough fuel to return to Earth. The first launch is planned from the company's launch site at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. A launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida, is expected in late 2013 or 14. In time, SpaceX hopes to launch 10 Falcon Heavy rockets a year. It says the rocket should reduce launch costs to about $2,000 a kilogram. That is about 1/10 the cost of carrying loads into orbit on a space shuttle. SpaceX already has a $1.5 billion deal with NASA to use a smaller rocket to transport cargo to the International Space Station. The rocket is the Falcon 9, and the deal is for after the two last shuttles, Endeavour and Atlantis, are retired this year. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. For more ways to learn American English and stay informed every day, go to voaspecialenglish.com from your computer or mobile device.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. We talked last week about counterfeit medicines and how the problem is especially bad in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The World Health Organization says up to 30% of the medicine sold in many developing countries is not real. It also estimates that up to 50% of the medicine sold on the internet is counterfeit. That can put people at risk even in wealthy countries that represent only a small part of the counterfeit drug market. Today, we look at what is being done to fight counterfeit drugs. Several companies are developing ways to make counterfeits easier to identify. And there are existing methods, like a machine that can quickly identify chemicals in pills to confirm if the pills are real. Other ideas include things like special tracking codes for drug packages. People could send a text message with the code and get a message back confirming that what they bought is listed in a database. Some drug makers and other companies put three-dimensional images called holograms on their products as a security device. Other anti-counterfeit efforts include the use of radio frequency identification tags. Many companies use these electronic tags to follow products through the supply chain from the manufacturer. The American Food and Drug Administration says RFID tags act like an electronic safety net to make it easier to catch counterfeits. Last July, the Food and Drug Administration advised manufacturers to add what are called physical chemical identifiers to their medicines. These are special chemicals, colorings, or tastes that counterfeiters could not easily copy. Brian Liang is with the Partnership for Safe Medicines, an organization in the United States. He says the internet is not only a place where people can get tricked into buying counterfeit drugs, it is also a place where counterfeiters can find all the materials they need to make them. He says the most important members of the counterfeit detection team are the patients themselves. He says raids on counterfeiters are often the result of information from people who bought fake medicines. Brian Liang says people who know their drugs and the effects of their drugs are the best security against fakes. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. You can find last week's report on counterfeit drugs at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. Counterfeit medicines are a widespread problem in developing countries. Like other counterfeits, they look like real products. But counterfeit drugs may contain too much, too little, or none of the active ingredients of the real thing. People do not get the medicine they need, and in some cases, the counterfeits cause tragic problems of their own. About a year ago, more than 80 children in Nigeria died after being given medicine for teething pain. And more than 20 children in Bangladesh died last year after being given acetaminophen. In both cases, the medications contained ingredients that looked, smelled, and tasted like the real thing. But the medicine in Bangladesh was produced by a local drug manufacturer that used a dangerous substitute to save money. And in the case in Nigeria, an illegal chemical dealer sold counterfeit glycerin to a drug company. That company then used the chemical to make the teething medicine. The World Health Organization says the problem with counterfeit medicines is especially bad in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The WHO estimates that up to 30% of the medicines on sale in many of those countries are counterfeit. Counterfeit medications are also a problem in the Middle East and in many countries of the former Soviet Union. The problem is less widespread among industrialized countries. The WHO says counterfeits represent less than 1% of the illegal drug market in countries like the United States, Canada, Japan, and New Zealand. But the agency also says as much as 50% of the medicine sold on the internet is counterfeit. Most people have no way to tell if medications are what they seem. The Center for Medicine in the Public Interest is a group in New York supported in part by the drug industry. It predicts counterfeit sales will reach $75 billion worldwide this year, nearly double the level of 2005. Substandard medicines are also a widespread problem in the developing world. How are they different from counterfeits? The legal difference is that counterfeit drugs are made with the purpose of misleading people. Substandard drugs are just poorly made. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. Next week, learn what is being done to fight counterfeit medicines. Transcripts, podcasts, and captioned videos of our reports can be found at voaspecialenglish.com.